It's easy to get lost. This is The Revenue Maze, and I'm Valerie Cobb. Join me as we navigate the halls, dead ends, and U-turns on our path towards upward growth trajectory. The Revenue Maze is sponsored by Lodestar URY, guidance and execution through fractional revenue leadership, uncovering hidden revenue streams, and empowering small business growth through process-driven sales. Welcome everybody to another episode of The Revenue Maze. I am super excited because I have two guests today, and these guests are so much fun. First of all, the first guest is a mentor and local entrepreneur. He's also a tech entrepreneur himself, and he is active in the New Orleans, Houston, and Portland areas. And he's a co-founder and president at Fluence Analytics. Welcome, Alex Reed.
Thanks, Valerie. Excited to be here.
I'm so excited for you to be here, but we've got to introduce our second guest. And right now, the second guest has more than 3 decades of global experience in technology commercialization. He is highly skilled at business development, a man after my own heart, because that is very difficult. He is CEO and board of directors at Fluence Analytics. Jay Manouchehri, I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Valerie. Happy to be here.
Perfect. But we always start this, Alex and Jay, we always start this with one question. What is one thing that the listeners can do to help themselves get out of the revenue maze?
It's a good one. I had to think about this one. One of the best thing I would say is to listen to your customers, if I had to say it succinctly, because if you get them comfortable, you get them talking, and you actually listen, they're going to tell you exactly what they need from you. And that's what you use to solve their problems. So that's it. Listen,
but that is so simplistic, but I struggle with that. I'm going to say I'm
all
always
do.
listening for the second, what am I going to say next? I'm a little nervous about saying something next, but I agree 100%. If you can listen, that's amazing. So I would love to hear a little bit more on how, even though it's simple, sometimes people need some steps on how they can actually do that. So what are you guys' thoughts?
Well, let's let Jay answer the question too. Curious what his take is on it, on the revenue maze.
No, that's you hit the nail on the head, Alex. Is to listen. But sometimes what I've noticed is we listen while we're not truly hearing. Okay, listen and walk a mile in the customer's shoe. How would I add value? How would I solve his pain point? Right? It's be empathic to it. It's really about, in business terms, we call it collaborative. Okay. Just listen. Let's roll the sleeves up and see how we could add value or how we could overcome obstacles and challenges. That it's all it's about,
Yeah.
Yeah. I just am not quite sure. So when you're trying to listen to hear, sometimes we have the audible portion of that, right? But sometimes people really aren't trying to, I've heard people say, listen to understand, right? And I think that a lot of us struggle with that. We want, we want to start making our points. So
especially in sales, I think you're right, Valerie. You want to have all the answers. You want to be there and you want to fill all those awkward silences and blank spaces with your pitch and your stuff. But the way I've found to really listen, in addition to what Jay was saying, which was spot on, and it's part of why we work so well together, and I think we're going to get into that, but is to be curious. If you're genuinely curious about who you're with, and this applies to me in every aspect of life, not just when I'm talking to a customer. Everyone is very passionate about something. So if you can go find what they're passionate about, you're going to learn from them. And so for me, the curiosity is to pull that out of people, ask them questions. And then if you can be genuinely curious, you're going to listen. And then you're going to hear something that is going to be very valuable, not just for your sale, but maybe you might learn something. They might introduce you to someone else. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just a good way, good design for living. So
Yeah,
I
dead
love
on,
the
Alex.
words. Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
And I like to add to that is and that's true in life, in all facets of life. And
Yeah.
from what you said from Valerie, on the business perspective, a lot of times salespeople want to go push the benefits and features and
Mm.
bells and whistles. It's not about that, right?
Yeah.
It is, but it's not. It's listening and then see, how can I really add value? How can I solve the problem? Work collaboratively, right? And then do that. And if it's not it, the time might be wrong, okay, or they're not at that stage. No need to try to do the hard sell, because it will come back to you. If you're
Yeah.
really solving the problem, a real problem, right? It, the value itself will unravel itself, and that's what Alex was talking about. The curiosity and the collaborations would help both sides jointly arrive at the right answer to move forward.
That's so interesting because, we talk about collaboration. Gosh, I washed my mouth and I can't figure out anything to do with it. Anyways, but we talk about collaboration, and I love the words that you guys said, curiosity, all of those kinds of things. If you are genuinely curious, then you don't care if you go to a hard sell anyway, right? So at the end of the day, I say this all the time, people buy for their reasons. They don't buy for your reasons. They don't buy for anybody else's reasons.
That's great. Yeah.
And the reality when we talk about that is talking about uncovering some of their reasons. And sometimes they don't even know their reasons until you're curious about what they're doing in their world, and that you're being that good human that tries to solve that pain that you're saying. And then as a company, you guys would have that kind of circle back in the benefits of the revenue, right? You're coming up with good products, you're coming up with all those things by listening. And then you are also getting a following because they understand that you really are interested in their benefit, not just yours. So I really do like that. That's amazing. And so in being an entrepreneur, both of you, right? And as you guys work into business development and stuff like that as well, hasn't that helped you in the past come up with these new companies and things like that? I'd love to hear from you, Alex, and then Jay on that.
Sure. Yeah. And I think this is, it's the curiosity and that what you just described. Absolutely. And I'll tell a little bit of the story of how our company came to exist, because it was rooted in what you're describing. It's, we were just an idea at a research institute at Tulane in New Orleans. Funny, my dad is a physics professor. He's actually the inventor of all these technologies. So I grew up working with him in the lab.
Yeah.
And did enough work in the lab that I knew I didn't quite want to be a scientist or engineer. Like, I like the technology, I like the science, but I was far more passionate about the commercialization. How do you go from idea to product broadly distributed to solve pain points in society, rather than staying in the lab and just doing research? So that was how we got started. And interesting, to the root, back to your question, the reason it was viable was because the work we were doing there at Tulane was being funded by these large petrochemical and large pharmaceutical companies who are today our customers. So even before we had a product, we had an idea and technology that these companies were funding because they saw the value.
Yeah.
And so we were listening and said, hey, you find value here. We have these patents. We're doing this research. What if we could just box this up and actually take these concepts and turn it into a product? And we were very fortunate that we had a very collaborative customer in the beginning. And so we actually started our company doing a joint development with a customer paying us to do the initial product development to solve their pain point. So it was birthed exactly with what we were describing just now, is, that curiosity, the listening, finding a pain point opportunity, actually took this out of a lab into a company. And then, we scaled it, we raised venture money. We then moved to Houston. I'll tell the story of how we pulled Jay in, I guess, later, but I hope he still likes me after I did that. But no, we can get into that. But that's anyway, that's just a little bit of the background.
We're good, Alex. Don't worry.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. So that was, I think, to answer your question, that was, the curiosity, listening, learning, and then turning it into products. And then it's continual, right? Because then as you continue to learn and listen to your customers, they're going to tell you where your product needs to go. I mean, it should never be static. I mean, you have a product today, but that should be going and growing to meet other needs and pain points. So Jay, I'll kick it to you.
No, it's you summarized our history well. And actually, what you summarize with the history of company, you sort of summarize the history of my career. Okay, I am an engineer. Okay, and I like to make things better, right? And so early on, I basically, how do you get technology to optimize things, make it better? So that was my simple way of making the world better. So I grew up in an industry that's not environmental friendly. So my view is we're gonna need plastics, we need gasoline. So, and I am an environmental kind of person, right? So I care about it. So my view is if I could optimize the process, if I could do lower the energy consumption, the waste, the emissions, making it run better, right? Is basically doing your passion and doing the tinkering. So that's what I was doing with my career, and that's how we connected. And so it's that's where I think the challenge comes and the opportunity. Going back to what you mentioned earlier, you said, Valerie, customers sometimes they don't know.
Yeah.
So in the terms of technology, part of our mission is awareness. We have this great mousetrap that solves a problem.
Yeah.
Now we got to get the message out and then find the right audience to collaborate with to solve that problem. And that's exactly what Alex did when he started the company, because the technology is real, the product is real, found a client that had that pain, they understood it, and they collaborated together to create the first generation of our product from a set of concepts and drawings and patents into a working industrial product.
What I like about what you guys are saying too is, in my haunts, I've always been on the revenue side. I've been a business owner, entrepreneur as well, and startups and things like that. And one of the things that I find when I get into smaller companies that need help, one of their biggest, when I say smaller, they could be a resurrection, 5 million and up kind of thing, or they can be a well-funded startup or whatever that I enter into. But at the end of the day, what I find is one of their biggest problems is they start the way that you guys are starting, but for some reason they can't translate that to the culture, right? So a salesman starts coming back going, the customer wants this, customer wants this, customer wants this, and it's the salesman who wants it because, or the salesman comes back and says, the customer wants this, the customer wants this, the customer wants this. And leaders start to go, well, they don't need that. I see both sides of the fence when it comes to that, right? With the listening portion of it, it's kind of like they shut down themselves to the curiosity once they've kind of started, especially in the resurrection space where Alex was talking about doing it over and over again. Your product is never done. You might have a minimal viable product, but your product's never done, right? Because society is always changing and their needs are always changing. So it seems to me that the advice that you've been giving about that and listening and rinsing and repeating and the way you guys have started your company is the model or the format that would perpetuate excellence and keep your company constantly growing.
Definitely. No, and I think you hit some interesting points, because it is very difficult to translate it to the culture. And I'm not going to say that we do it perfectly. Nobody does, right?
Nobody does. Yeah.
And so it's a fine line, I think, when you're running a technology business, to say, you have that minimum viable product, there's a need for it, there's a market, you got to stay the course, not get distracted, build some momentum, and then try to instill enough process that you're not getting too diluted, so that you can do those revisions, capture additional market, and kind of scale. And then the flip side of it is what you're saying is, the salesman's coming with all these feature requests and this and that. Then you're letting a salesperson dictate your roadmap, and then you can end up in a very different place. So
Yeah,
I think that's the balance that the executive needs to handle, the person running the company, or the team running the company. And I think the best way to do that is those key people need to be talking to customers regularly. If those people are not talking to customers, I think that's a problem, especially in those early years. And honestly, even very large companies, that CEO's job, or the key people in the business, they're dealing with customers at a high level and listening to the customer still. It's a carved out portion of their time. So that I think is a big important piece. Jay, I'm sure you have something you want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, we have we've been through it ourselves, right? So what advice I will give, and my thought is, to any company, every organization needs a straight man.
yeah. The good cop, bad cop kind of.
It's just that asks, and what I usually, so and to that end, I think the question that all of us need to ask ourselves when those situations come up: is it a real problem? Okay.
Yeah.
Are we the best people to solve that problem?
Mm-hmm.
Can we solve that problem? And how do we add value to the customer and ourselves? Are we gonna reach from a bridge too far for us that will stretch us too far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or not? And the next thing is, we have 10 things on our plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to defocus ourselves? So that's where it's really a executive team decision. And so I would like to take that into another segment. Some years ago, when I was originally turning around the business and running an engineering company, the sales guys will go out, do exactly what you said, stick a price on it, and then come and give it to operations and say, there you go.
Yeah.
Operations will say, well, the salesman sold it, so not my problem. We're losing money this. So what I did is, basically, as I was fixing that, I said, guys, okay, we're going to have a little bit of internal friction is good. So sales team, this was like engineering solution.
Yeah.
You cannot put a proposal out with a price without operations giving a detailed breakdown, cost structure, blah, blah. So then they will say, oh, it's too expensive. I said, good.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, here's the next one. It's too expensive.
Yeah. So you bring it to management. Okay. So, fortunately, I've done those projects. So I say, guys, do you really need so many hours to do this? So so that's one lever. You rationalize it, right?
Yeah.
Then you play with the margin and off you go. So it's that sort of friction and collaboration and working together. And as you do these cycles, the team learns and becomes them better and better. Next time a similar project, you don't have to go through all those gyrations.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit off topic of what you were talking about.
No, it was actually on topic, because we started talking about how to improve something and getting them out of the revenue maze. And there's always that sort of dynamic. I'm going to add to that, Jay. I'm going to add, there's always the straight guy. And when you're saying the straight man, you're just meaning the guy that watched probably all the analytics and says this isn't efficient and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to say there's the visionary that stretches that straight person, whoever's in that role a little bit, because there's always that give and take between operations and sales, and there's always the pushback on price point. And there are some that will think things are cheap by the price, and others who think they're expensive by the price. That's just human nature. So no, I love exactly what you were saying. And it has to do with also listening to your team, right? Because you just said it builds that team.
And sorry, also, Alex, on a higher level, Valerie, it goes through a strategy. I used to be a strategy and management consultant in the past life. And I will tell people one thing about strategy is a good portion of it is knowing what you're not going to do.
That is one of the best things,
so
right?
The thing about strategy is you can't do everything and be everything for everyone. So what is it you're not going to do for the reasons that you have? So it's not doing certain things is actually a good strategic move.
That's absolutely. And then when Alex, you were talking about the executives being and listening and being part of that, that whole process that Jay has kind of laid out, that was exactly my roots. And I'm old, so this will explain it. But when I graduated college, my first out of college job was Nordstrom. And Nordstrom required every executive once a month to sell on the floor. That was their thing, every single month to hear what the customer was doing. And
there you go.
And it helped because they always were in tune with it, So I agree 100% with what you're saying too. So, and you had something. I interrupted you, Alex. Go ahead.
No. I think that because it creates two things. One is that constant pulse on that changing environment, and two, that empathy that Jay was talking about. Because if you know what customers are asking and you know what they want, you're developing that empathy, and it's not static, just like everything else. Like things change, so you need to keep working that muscle out to make sure that it's a lens that you're constantly viewing the decisions you have to make through. Because at the end of the day, if you're not adding value to a customer, where it's B2B or B2C, you don't exist. The whole point of the business is to create value. So you can't. So anyway, so I think that's the fundamental root of sales and everything we're talking about, is you have to find the way to add value and shift and change, so to make sure you're constantly adding new value.
That's awesome. So I want to know a little bit more about what brought you guys to Fluence Analytics. It doesn't have to start with that, but I'm just curious, and the audience is always curious where an entrepreneur comes from and all of that kind of stuff. So I would love to hear this.
Yeah, and I told the kind of the genesis story, a little bit earlier with out of my dad's lab and how we got going. And so I think this next part we could talk about how I got Jay, this guy with all this great experience, to come in, right?
That's a good sales pitch, isn't it? It's that whole, where do I get this off the ground? That whole mad scientist sort of thing.
I'm a first-time entrepreneur. I've been very fortunate to have awesome mentors and just great supporters. And there's so many people to thank and list and all that. But it's at a certain point, and this was middle of the pandemic, we had been doing things and we were really looking to grow. We really needed to go to that next level. And so I went to the board. I said, guys, look, I think we need to bring in somebody that knows this industry, has a lot of experience to really just step in as CEO. And I want to help find that person, support them, and I'll shift and do commercial things. And, I'll just, I'll be there for them. But I'll bring them in, work with you guys and that person to get them spun up. So they agreed, and the board said, yeah, let's go do that. And so we worked together and found Jay. And Jay is interesting because most people, when they work at a big company for a long time, they're ruined for a startup. I'm gonna be blunt as you can be, because you have way too much support, way too many resources. At a startup, it's a whole different mindset. It's not like, oh, I have a team to do that, I have a team to do this. It's, you got to figure out how to get it all done quickly. And that's one of the advantages, right? You're more agile, you can do things. So Jay was that perfect blend of having that experience at the big companies, doing some, different things in private equity, M&A, consulting. And so he was just crazy enough and had the guts to come do a startup, to help take us to the next level. So it was a perfect fit. And the best thing is he and I we work very well together. And wonderful. So, the process, I'll tell one last story about how we got to him, because it's one of these crazy world stories, right?
That's a funny story.
Yeah. So, so then everyone agreed, yeah, let's go do this. I activate the search. I go to all these people I tried to hire before, this and that. And one of those people I tried to hire before introduced me to this guy named Chet Morose, who Jay had worked for, I don't know, 20 years ago when he was running Middle East for ABB. And so I literally went like halfway around the world to get to Jay. And then we have our first call, and it's like a 2.5 hour intro call. Like, we were just hitting it off. And then it comes out he's from New Orleans. He went to Tulane. And then we know like 20 mutual people. And I was like, Jay, why the heck did I have to go halfway around the world to some guy that you work for in the Middle East to find you, when I literally could have picked up the phone and found you this way? So it was one of those.
What did I tell you, Alex?
I don't know. What would you say?
I said it's a good thing you didn't connect to them fast. They were my college drinking buddies, right? So the stories you would have got.
He did say that. We might not be here today, right?
Well, that's actually, it shows great tenacity. You went all the way around the world to find
you got to do whatever it takes. Yeah.
So
that's.
I want to hear Jay's perspective.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's Alex. I think we've talked about it. I mean, he's doing all this pitch, and I'm from New Orleans. It's my alma mater. I would love to see them. So I said, Alex, you don't need a CEO. You're doing a great job. I mean, he shared some documents, and this is after the first meeting. He sent some. I signed the NDA. He signed it. I said, look, my advice to you is, at best, you need a COO, okay? And or to get that, and I understand what you're trying to do, augment the scale up, the industrialization. You need that knowledge set, So then he tells me, well, that's too complicated, It's the board. So just be the CEO, and I'll work for you, and I'll just go do the sale, run the commercials, CCO. So I said, tell you what, that made the difference for me. It's not easy. It's like raising your child and giving it to someone else, right? To raise it. That was the watershed moment for me. I said, this guy has great maturity and already is a great CEO executive. What that means is you got to do what's best for your business. Like the same thing I was saying for the customer. So if at some point I have to move out of this seat, right, for the company to excel, a great executive will do that.
Yes, they will.
Right. So they say, okay, now I'm going to just go on to be on the board, be the president, or do something else, and bring, because you got different stages in the life cycle of a company, right? And to do that. So that was the watershed moment for me. And
that's great character on Alex's part, first of all, because that is one of the hardest things. And sometimes when you're doing that, Jay, which is great character for you as well, sometimes when you're doing that, because I've done that in my business as well. I've got 3 people that I turned away and said, hey, no, you need this first. I'm not going to be able to help you right now, but I'll be in the wings. You need help, you need, then go ahead and give me a shout. But I think one of the hardest things with what you just said was so many people want that title versus want what the company to actually grow. And it shows Alex's curiosity, right? It shows that he listens. It shows that he wants the best for his customers, because he needs that out there. And so he hired a rock star, it sounds like to me. And he's a rock star too.
I don't. No. And the best for his company, and it's his baby, right? That he started, right? Yeah. So I told him, I said, look, you're not going to get off the hook. Okay. So
No,
we
I'm
gotta
not
do
doing
it.
this all myself.
We gotta do it together. And I had done co in the past,
Yeah.
right? So I said we gotta do it together, and it's been a great journey. I've learned a lot from him. You know, things that I've done differently in the past life,
Hmm.
and I see like they're doing it differently here, and it makes sense. So
Hmm.
it's been a very, very collaborative uh, and enjoyable journey, but not easy. Enjoyable,
But
but yeah.
We call
yeah.
there's type 1 and type 2 fun. I'm sure you've heard this, or maybe type 1 is, you're relaxing on the beach, or you're hanging out, vacation. Type 2 is the hard stuff you do and look back fondly on when it's over.
Yes.
Say that was fun, but when you're in it, maybe it's not so fun because it's hard,
It
but
is
that's where the
hard.
reward, that's what's most rewarding. The hard stuff's what's rewarding. So
Yeah. No, I've got my daughter's wedding next week. I'm gonna look back at it very
type
fondly.
2. It should be
Type
type
two, but
1.
it's
Come
not
on.
exactly.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. So basically you guys started listening to the customer. Alex has got a good dose of humble pie and really the right motivations and goals to growing the company. Gets a good co-founder in Jay. You guys work like yin and yang. So kind of explain how this helps other people.
I mean, that's it. What it really is, it's not an easy thing to do. First of all, the co-management, but the fundamental end result, and then we'll work back to how we do it. But fundamental end result of how it helps people is when you can have this type of arrangement where it's complementary. There's different, two extremely engaged people respecting each other, working together. The end result for the business and therefore the customer is it's multiples better than it would be with one person, which is a more typical format. So we actually think that doing it this way has been what's best for our company and our customers, and it's been a hell of an experience. Jay, I don't know if you want to elaborate.
And for ourselves, we learn from each other, right?
Yeah.
So, and the way that I would like to say, Valerie, first of all, Alex and I start the day, okay, most of the time, something is we do a desync and wrap up,
Sure.
okay, and then depending on the day, multiple times during the day or at the end of the day and so forth.
Mhm.
And basically, a lot of times I said, Alex, I don't have the answer right now. I just let me ruminate on it. Let me sleep on it. And the reason we do it in the morning, they are issues that are not resolved, right? We sleep on it, and
or
then
don't sleep.
I was gonna say, or don't.
We wait a
And
certain period of time.
and then recalibrate in the morning.
Yeah.
Another thing is sometimes slow is fast,
Mm-hmm.
right? So basically, what I've noticed that we're making decisions too fast,
Yeah.
right? So I said, tell you what, this is what I learned when my dad taught me that. So he says, look, whenever you make a decision, you made your decision, just don't act on it. Don't just sleep on it overnight, one night. Okay.
Yeah.
And then wake up in the morning. And if you still feel the same about it, proceed. What happens is our neural net in the back, whilst it relaxes, it analyzes that decision. And a lot of times it comes with a better answer. And that's what we typically and that's why we connect in the morning. We routinely do. But how the co-manage works, just to give an example before we go into the details, is imagine you have one eye.
Yeah.
You could reach for something, you could overshoot it, okay, or undershoot it because you have one angle on it. With a co-manage, you have two eyes, so you could get depth perception. You get a better view. And what I like to use as an example is, what do you see?
A pen.
Well, a point of a pen, right?
A point of a pen that the people
Right.
who are listening cannot see it. So I'm describing it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, but if you look at it from another angle, it's a pen or a line, right?
Or a line. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what the depth or two people looking at it. It gives you two angles, two ways to analyze it, to get a better answer and not jump to a conclusion that's maybe not the whole story.
But as Alex said, his mind doesn't stop all night, and it's the pain of waiting too.
Yes, and that's a good thing. Actually,
That's
we say
good.
that.
Yeah.
We say we commiserate, and that's how that process of commiseration to figuring things out.
Yeah.
It's the working process of polishing and getting a better solution, decision, and process out the window. And as
I
Alex
totally
said,
get it.
this process will not work. It's not for the faint-hearted. So if there isn't mutual respect and trust between the parties, okay, and then willingness to pinging back ideas back and forth, and with no judgment, okay, and also willingness to completely rely on the other person.
Yeah.
You know, you do these team building exercises, they say close your eyes and jump, and just know that your team is going to catch you. That's exactly what me and Alex, you know, it's and that actually came to a test on a basically early in our when we started. Alex had his son, and there were some complications, and basically he was in the NICU for a couple of weeks.
Oh no.
And
he's good now. He's perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm like,
now.
well, wait a minute. You can't move on.
No, he's good. Don't worry. Keep going, Jay.
So, and basically we had just started this, and we were doing sessions prior to that during the Christmas, New Year's, and I had the whole team working during the holidays, long hours to get ready for the next year. And this was in late January that this happened, and I was just early on, right? So I said, Alex, don't even worry about it, okay? You just check out completely, which he didn't, but
I can imagine.
But check out completely, just leave it to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And had we not done that, and did not have that trust, okay, for those few weeks, the whole company would have came to a grinding halt.
Yeah. Wow. Excellent story. So tell me a little bit about what the Fluence Analytics group can expect from all of this. And tell the audience a little bit about Fluence, just a little bit about what you guys are doing differently.
Yeah, we, so I think I alluded to it earlier, but we work with petrochemical and biopharmaceutical companies. So these are, companies working at the forefront of materials and biologics, the next therapies. And so what we do is we actually provide a turnkey solution to help them optimize their production process. So real-time analytics from measurement through analysis. And then with that, they're able to improve their yield, efficiency, cost. So basically help them make it better, cheaper, faster. And so we're doing that in the polymer space. And what's interesting, and now that we're focusing on, the future, which is plastic upcycling. So taking waste plastic, not trying to mechanically recycle it, but actually take that waste plastic, go back to the original molecule, and then reprocess it. So we're actually trying to work with some companies that are at the forefront of that, so that we can truly have a circular economy instead of a lot of waste plastic. And then those novel therapies, the proteins, peptides, mRNA, which changed our lives with the fast.
Yeah, just talking about that yesterday.
Absolutely. So, so we're working with these companies that are really leading the charge of the future. And so we're an enabler, humble enabler with our technology. That
humbler enabler of your technology. I love that.
Of their technology.
Of their technology. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, with ours. So that's
Oh.
what we do.
So that's very interesting because there's a lot of data analytic companies out there, but what gap did you guys see in the industry that made it so different? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I'll say my bit from where I was starting, and then Jay can say what he saw over decades of the industry, because that was another piece that connected us. But what I saw was talking with those customers, they're in this polymer space, they take physical manual samples, take a little vial of sample, go to a lab, make a test, go back and make another test. They're doing this every hour, every 4 hours. This is 2022. This is still how we're running, pretty complex, high value assets that make the supply chain work, right? And so,
yeah.
Right. I mean, these are vital materials to our modern life. And so I was shocked because I'm not from the industry. I see this. I'm like, wow, really, people are doing it. Like, we don't have a better way. And so really what we're doing is taking what was in that lab, making it a smart system, putting it next to the reactor and doing continuous real-time measurement of what now is done offline every hour. We're doing it continuously every second. And so with that new data, they're able to then do what I said before and make it, better and more efficient. And then Jay, you want to jump in with the problems you saw?
So when Alex told me that story, that was our first call. I immediately got it, right? Because that's what I spend my career doing, advanced process control, digital transformation of the process industries. And within the energy and refining, you could do that. But one area that we couldn't apply those technologies to was the polymerization and polymer industry, because of the inherent dynamics of those processes. So that was a big challenge that people had a lot of scars trying to solve it with different methods in the past and were not successful. So when I saw what Alex and the Fluence team are doing, I immediately got it. And I immediately saw the value and the niche in the market that no one else has been able to do, right? So now you have you're solving a real pain point.
Yeah.
Right. And then you basically, and the need is there, right? So what more do you want?
Well, sometimes educating people to know that it's there and that they have the need.
Timing. There's all other factors. Timing. What's trendy is the enabling technology. You're right. It's not all just a great idea and pain point.
I do love it though. I mean, that's when you were talking about that, and Jay, you were talking about digital transformation. Sometimes people will think that, for instance, healthcare is cutting edge, but they're actually quite antiquated in adopting, right? So, and some of that has to do with government regulation. I get that. Right. Yeah. But the other side of it is because I've worked in heavy equipment manufacturing as well. And the construction industry, for all their trucks and their really cool equipment, they are very behind on a lot of systematic processes and digital transformation. Yet you can scream till the cows come home how that will help save them, improve bids, do what, save them time, money, and all that kind of stuff. But the pain of same seems to not be greater than change at that point. So I am curious how you guys got them past it.
Valerie, you're describing the human condition.
I know.
That's just, no one likes change. So that's why it's fun to be a change maker.
Yes, it is. It is always engaging. I kind of laugh because sales teams are almost, when you're coaching them, they're almost the worst with it. Well, no, I just want to go and it's like, no, you've got to do change management every day. You are change agents every day of your life. But
so no, I love it. When you said healthcare and change agents. So early on, we're going through the stuff, that first period that I was talking about, to get ready for the first board meeting in January where we're doing it. Because then I got to come tell the board, okay, I'm going to where we're going to take the company.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm looking through some stuff, and we had this other product, and said, Alex, what's this? Says, we had this, and then the board really said, you're a startup, focus on one thing. and this was for the biopharma industry. I said, wait a second, because it uses the same underlying IP,
Sure.
but solves a different problem within the biopharma industry. I said, wait a second, this is biopharma. They have more money than God.
Exactly.
So I said, he says, yeah, but he says, you tell that to the board, you come as, they're going to give you a hard time, right?
Oh, yes, they are.
So I said, no problem. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep it as my secret weapon in my back pocket. And sure enough, at the end of the first board meeting, one of the board members asked, and we have this other thing, Jay, what do you think about this? I said, yes. So we're going to take that off of the, in the cabinet, and we're going to, spruce it up and relaunch it, because it's the way to go. And amazingly, it's been taken off, right?
And good. I'm glad.
And that product, and within that industry, it actually touches all of our lives, because it helps in the formulating of vaccines, and peptides, mRNA, DNA, and the technology is now the way to make the new vaccines that are coming out. So we're at the forefront of that.
Oh,
and
nice.
Ever since we relaunched that, it's just taken off like hotcakes.
That's awesome. That's an amazing success story. So one of the things I want to do is I always like to know, and I know the listeners like to know, what are you guys passionate about outside of the business realm? What do you guys like to do for fun? Because you said tier 1 fun, and then you said tier 2 fun. Now we're in tier 2 fun here, right? What's your tier 1, like on the beach, whatever, that kind of fun stuff?
I'll go first, because I know Jay's got to think about this one a little bit.
Because he's a fun hater on tier 1.
No, he's a type 2 guy, he just so actually it's funny you say that, because I actually got this question from an early investor, and it stumped me. I literally froze, because I was just, that's all I did was this company 24/7. It's all I thought about, and I didn't do anything else.
You were a fun hater.
A
tier 1 fun hater. I have to call it tier 1.
Yeah, that's exactly. And so, over time, there's some realizations, that's not sustainable for most people forever. So like, you go through ebbs and flows, and so you find that sweet spot. And then you find ways to add balance and things like that. I mean, you still are thinking about it 24/7, but you can, have type 1 fun here and there. And so, I think if you want to have a relationship with a significant other, I got married, and, now we have a son. So a lot of the little bits of free time I have, I spend with them, hiking and doing things like that. So, the other bits are helping other entrepreneurs solve their problems, because my type 1 fun sometimes is to gravitate towards other people's type 2.
That's true.
I love learning about other businesses and technology. So I like to help do that stuff.
And that can be tier 1. That's when I work out every morning.
When you're not in it
to a new book, it's a tier 1 for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jay, are you a fun hater or not?
No, I'm not a fun hater. It's just that I'm a boring guy. It's what I do is my passion, and actually I like to find difficult problems, and situations and companies, and immerse myself and solve it, right? So my fun one is sort of basically what Alex said that he likes to do with the other entrepreneurs. I like to do that with my team, right? So basically, my is when I see the light bulb go up in people's eyes, or people's careers take off or develop, right? It just makes my day, and it's
awesome.
I just get charged, because it's like you planted a tree. It's gonna go and generate and make changes. But I do like Yeah, my fun I do have is walking, music. Uh, you can't be
Actually,
from the
Jay can
role.
party. If you get him in the right environment, Jay can. Yeah.
Oh, does he go to Cat's Cradle in New Orleans and do the
Pat
open mic?
O'Brien's. I think if you have to pick a place, Pat O'Brien's is his place.
Oh, Pat O'Brien's.
Piano
Okay.
Right, Jay?
No comment.
I was gonna say there's got to be some kind of
No,
passion out there. Jay, you and I have something in common because I sung opera for 18 years and I loved coaching it as well. So when we're talking music, I love music, and definitely from both of you guys, I totally love that you immerse yourself in tier 2 fun and have be tier 1 fun become tier 2, so we'll coin that phrase. Let's have it tier 1, tier 2.
I can't take credit. I saw it on LinkedIn somewhere, so I
you can't take it. Okay,
I don't want to take credit for it because
the humble guy. I'm not going to take credit for it, but no, that's great, because helping people, that's kind of the stage I'm at, and I love the fact that it would resonate really, really well with the next generation. I don't even know what Pew Research is calling it these days, because they changed it several times. So I won't even venture to Gen something, I think, instead of millennial. But if it's Gen Zers, Gen A'ers, I don't remember. Yeah. Anyways, but that's so fascinating. So what I would love the audience to know is kind of where can they get a hold of you? Because it's really exciting what you guys are doing at Fluence.
I'm on LinkedIn, so you can go to our website, fluenceanalytics.com, if you want to check out what we're doing. And you can find me, Alex Reed, on LinkedIn. That's the easiest to get a hold of me.
You're going to get blown up with connection requests.
It's already that way, right?
I'll make sure that when this posts there, that we just blow it up, right? Okay. And Jay, where's the best place to get a hold of you and Fluence?
LinkedIn is good. Jay Manouchehri on LinkedIn or through our website. Yep.
That's awesome. And so anyways, I want to really thank the audience for listening today and learning about this fantastic leadership group and learning about Fluence a little bit and some of the ways that we can get out of the revenue maze and help each other. And so just thank you so much for listening. And thank you again, Alex and Jay. This has been fantastic.
Thank you, Valerie. It's been fun.
Thank you all for joining another great episode. For show notes, links, and resources, visit revenuemaze.com. And never forget, you are why.